Welcome to the art class.
So, I want you to picture this scenario and, really try to imagine the sheer cultural whiplash of it.
Okay, set the scene for us.
Right, so the year is 1907. We are in Vienna, and the Austrian government has just spent, well, the better part of a decade absolutely destroying the reputation of Gustav Klimt.
Yeah, completely dragging his name through the mud.
Exactly. I mean, he is their most prominent artist, but they are openly calling him a pornographer.
Oh, yeah. It was a spectacular, entirely public fall from grace.
His artwork has literally caused screaming matches on the floor of the National Parliament. 87 university professors, 87 of them, have actually gone out of their way to draft and sign this formal petition declaring his work a public disgrace.
We are talking about total systemic institutional rejection here. The establishment just, they wanted absolutely nothing to do with him anymore.
Right. And then amidst all of this intense hostility, he paints the kiss.
Yeah, he paints this masterpiece that just changes everything.
And that exact same government, the one that has been publicly shaming him and actively trying to cancel his career for nearly 10 years, turns around and buys the painting immediately.
Before the paint is even fully dry on the canvas.
Yes. And they don't just quietly acquire it, to hide it in a basement. They pay an absolute fortune for it. 25,000 crowns.
Which, just to put that in perspective for you, it was an astronomical, totally unprecedented sum of money at the time. It was a record-breaking acquisition for the Austrian National Collection.
It's just the ultimate historical contradiction because, it is the exact same artist.
Right.
He's using the exact same controversial style, the exact same provocative imagery, the exact same gold leaf that he had been using to enrage them just a few years prior.
And yet it gets a completely different reaction.
Exactly. So today on this deep dive, our mission is to figure out the why and the how. And how did that happen? So, okay, let's unpack this. Because by the end of our conversation, we are going to completely ruin the postcard-perfect romantic cliche of the kiss for you.
Yeah, we really are.
And I mean that in the best, most fascinating way possible.
To really understand the kiss, you have to strip away the century of merchandising.
Right. All the junk.
Yeah, you have to ignore the coffee mugs, the tote bags, the phone cases. You basically have to go back 10 years before he even mixed the paint for that canvas, back to Vienna in 1897.
Because Gustav Klimt was not born this, rebellious provocateur.
Not at all. He wasn't always the bad boy of the Viennese art world. He actually started out playing totally by their rules.
He was the golden boy.
The ultimate golden boy of the establishment. He was handling these highly respected government commissions, painting the ceilings of grand imperial theaters, doing formal portraits for the wealthiest aristocratic families in Austria.
So he was doing the safe stuff.
Exactly. He was operating entirely within the safe, rigid, approved boundaries of the official art academy. He was set up for a life of pure prestige and incredible wealth.
He had the institutional backing, he had the guaranteed paychecks, and then he just decides to take a match to his own career.
Yeah, he really does. He and a group of like-minded artists basically decided that the official Austrian Art Association was suffocating them.
How so?
Well, the Academy had all these strict, stuffy rules about what constituted quote-unquote high art and what belonged in lesser categories. And they just had enough, so they walked out and co-founded this radical breakaway movement called the Vienna Secession. And Klimt was actually voted its first president.
Oh, wow. So what was the vision that made, walking away from all that guaranteed imperial money actually worth it? What were they trying to build?
They were chasing a very specific philosophical concept called Gesamtkunstwerk.
Gesamtkunstwerk?
Yeah.
Meaning, a total all-encompassing artwork.
That's the literal translation, yes. It was this really radical idea that art should never be compartmentalized. You shouldn't have a painting hanging passively on a wall over here, and then architecture happening completely independently over there, and, furniture design treated as some lesser craft somewhere else.
They wanted it all integrated.
Exactly. They believed every single element should fuse together into a single, unified, immersive experience. The building holding the art, the door handles, the furniture, and the paintings inside it, they should all be speaking the exact same aesthetic language.
Which is an incredible energy to have, but it also sounds like a direct threat to the people in charge of the old system.
Oh, absolutely.
The people who like their art in neat, predictable little boxes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that perfectly sets the stage for the massive scandal of the 1894 University of Vienna Commission.
No, the University Commission. Right. So the university had commissioned Klimt to paint 3 massive monumental ceiling panels for their grand assembly hall.
And the themes were philosophy, medicine, and jurisprudence.
Exactly. And this was meant to be the ultimate prestigious public work. The expectation, I mean, the absolute demand from the university was that he would deliver these grand, uplifting allegories.
Like classic Greco-Roman stuff.
Yes. They wanted classical heroes. They wanted the triumph of reason, the noble glory of healing, the absolute justice of the law.
Right. They wanted a monument to their own academic brilliance. But instead, it takes him, what, 7 years?
7 years.
And when he finally unveils the first panel, philosophy, in 1900, he definitely does not give them Socrates in a toga.
No, not even close. He gave them a dark, swirling, chaotic void.
Oh, man.
The panel was just filled with naked, floating human bodies. They were intertwined, visibly suffering, basically drifting aimlessly through an uncaring universe.
That is amazing.
He completely ignored any classical heroic narrative. He was basically telling the professors that human existence isn't some triumph of reason, it's a confusing, painful mystery.
And then when he debuted medicine, it just pushed them completely over the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Because instead of a glorious, glowing triumph of science and doctors conquering disease, he painted naked female figures with, like, visible pubic hair, surrounded by the reality of sickness and death.
The press went absolutely wild over this. They called the work pure pornography.
Naturally.
The narrative became that Klimt had literally lost his mind and was insulting the dignity of the state. And that's the moment the parliament gets involved.
Right, the 87 professors.
That's when those 87 university professors drafted their formal protest petition demanding the murals be rejected and destroyed.
See, I am obsessed with Klimt's reaction to this.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't apologize, right? He doesn't offer to paint some clothes on the floating bodies just to appease the government. He actually buys the paintings back.
He does.
It totally reminds me of, like, a modern-day movie director who gets so fed up with studio executives interfering with their vision that they literally buy the rights to their own film out of their own pocket just so they can keep final cut.
That's a great analogy.
Like, Klimt paid back the entire massive commission fee from his own funds and just kept the paintings for himself.
And he declared he was permanently done with public commissions. He basically walked away from the state entirely.
He had this fiery quote during all this drama that I love. He told the press, if you cannot please everyone with your deeds and your art, please a few. To please many is bad.
That statement is just the ultimate declaration of artistic independence. And if you track his headspace leading up to the kiss, you see how deep that independence goes.
Because he isolated himself even more.
Exactly. Because by 1905, he hadn't just left the official academy. He actually resigned from the Vienna Secession, his own breakaway movement.
Wait, really? He left the group he founded?
Yeah, he decided even the rebels had too many rules, so he was left with absolutely no institutional home.
He's operating on an island of his own making.
He is totally isolated. The only way he survives financially is by relying entirely on private patrons. And these patrons were primarily wealthy, highly progressive Jewish families in Vienna.
Which, I mean, that makes perfect sense when you think about the cultural dynamics of the time. These progressive Jewish families were often marginalized by the traditional old money Austrian aristocracy.
Right, exactly.
They were cultural outsiders, so they became natural allies for an artist who basically just turned himself into an outsider too. They actually understood and championed what he was trying to do.
That dynamic is totally crucial. That deep isolation from the establishment funded by those progressive private patrons ushers in what art historians call his golden period.
Okay, so we have to talk about the physical reality of this gold. Because if you, as the listener, have only ever seen the kiss on a laptop screen or, like, printed on a coaster, you are completely missing the physical shock of this painting.
You really are.
It's massive. It's almost a perfect square, nearly 6 feet by 6 feet. But the gold itself, it is not just yellow paint mimicking the color of gold.
No, it's literal, delicate gold leaf applied directly onto the canvas.
Yeah, and it catches and reflects the ambient light in the room.
Yeah.
It has this physical, heavy presence that just comes right off the surface at you.
And that choice of material, it's not just Klimt trying to make something look shiny or expensive or merely decorative. It's a highly specific, deeply historical reference.
From his travels, right?
Right. In 1903, Klimt traveled to Ravenna, Italy, and while he was there, he studied the incredible early Christian Byzantine mosaics inside the ancient churches.
Oh, those are the mosaics where the saints and emperors look like they're encased in flat, shimmering jewelry, just floating against a solid gold background.
That is the exact mechanism. Byzantine art deliberately avoids realism. It uses flat, frontal, overwhelming gold to completely erase any recognizable physical space.
So no trees, no sky.
Right, there is no background, no horizon line, no earthly context at all. In that ancient visual language, gold has one very specific job. It signals the divine.
Right.
It tells the viewer, you are no longer looking at the human realm. This is sacred space. This is the presence of God.
And that is the central, massively subversive move of the kiss.
Oh.
I mean, he takes this incredibly loaded visual language, a technique that for centuries had been exclusively reserved for emperors, for saints, for the divine presence of the holy, and he wraps it around a man and a woman in the middle of a highly erotic embrace.
Exactly. He elevates raw physical intimacy to the register of the sacred. He's saying that this human connection is divine.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Because if the Austrian government already hated him for being, pornographic and inappropriate with the university murals, isn't taking the sacred holy presence of God and mixing it with an erotic makeout session just a recipe to get canceled all over again? Like, why on earth do they love it enough to buy it?
Honestly, the government was blinded by the aesthetic beauty of it. The holy golden aura was just so overwhelming that they simply didn't look closely at what was actually happening.
They missed the details.
They completely missed them. But if they had just looked past that blinding gold and focused on the two physical bodies trapped inside it, they would have seen something completely different.
Wait, I am looking at a high-resolution image of the robes right now, and there is an entire hidden geometry happening here.
Tell me what you see.
Well, the man's robe is entirely covered in these harsh, stark, black and white rectangles. It's very rigid, very hard-edged. But the woman's robe is entirely different. She is covered in these soft, organic, spiraling circles and vibrant, colorful flower forms.
Right, so he is using the symbolic shorthand of the time. The rigid, hard-edged rectangles represent the masculine, rational, structured, imposing.
Okay, that tracks.
And he counters that instantly with the woman's robe. The spiraling circles and flowers represent the feminine, natural, fluid, emotional. He is visually separating them, creating tension between their natures, even while they are fused together in this single golden shape.
But the physical reality of what the woman is actually doing in this painting, man, once you see it, you can never unsee it. Look down at their feet. They are not standing in some beautiful, endless romantic meadow.
No, they are not. And this is the uncomfortable truth that gets entirely lost when the painting is shrunk down for merchandise. They are on the precipice of a cliff.
It's a sharply dropping edge.
It is. It's covered in flowers, yes, but it is undeniably a dangerous cliff edge.
And then look at the woman's face. Her head is forced back at this incredibly sharp angle. Her eyes are closed, but her expression is not like pure, simple bliss. It's incredibly ambiguous.
Very ambiguous.
Is it ecstasy? Is it surrender? Is it a desperate desire to escape the pressure he is putting on her?
Look closely at her hands. You would expect, in the ultimate symbol of romantic love, that she would be pulling him in, throwing her arms around his neck.
But she isn't. Her hands are actually slightly clenched, like one hand is holding onto his hand, almost bracing herself, pulling it away rather than pulling it closer.
Exactly.
Her other hand is tightly gripped against her own chest, and her feet are curled aggressively right at the edge of that precipice. She is holding on, bracing against the edge. She's not leaning into the kiss at all.
She is receiving the kiss. She is enduring the kiss. But it is very difficult to argue when you look at the physical tension in her muscles that she is actively participating in it with the same forceful desire that the man is imposing on her.
So who is she? I mean, if this isn't a picture of perfect mutual romantic bliss, who are we actually looking at?
Well, that remains one of the great mysteries of our history because Klimt refused to ever explicitly identify her.
Really?
Yeah. There are a few historical candidates. There was a model known as Red Hilda. There was Alma Mahler, a famously captivating woman who was briefly involved with Klimt. But the most persistent candidate, the woman most scholars point to, is Emily Floge.
Emily Floge. And she wasn't just like a fleeting romance.
Oh, no.
She was a brilliant fashion designer and a highly successful independent businesswoman in Vienna. And she was Klimt's constant companion for 27 years. They spent almost every summer together walking by the lake.
They were completely entwined in each other's lives, intellectually and socially, but this introduces a staggering biographical contradiction into the story of Gustav Klimt.
How so?
Because despite this incredibly long, intimate, lifelong bond with Emily, by all historical accounts, their relationship was entirely non-physical.
Which is wild when you contrast it with how he actually lived his daily life. Klimt was not exactly a monk.
Oh, definitely not. He
Right.
never married. He lived with his mother and sisters his entire adult life. But his studio in Vienna was notorious.
It was basically a party, right?
It was constantly filled with models, many of whom walked around freely, completely nude. He was openly obsessed with female beauty and sexuality.
He had a massive appetite. I mean, after he died, didn't the paternity suits just start flooding in?
Yes, there were many claims. And the estate ultimately acknowledged at least 14 illegitimate children by various women.
14 children.
13.
And yet, when he suffered a fatal stroke in 1918, his dying words were not about any of those women. They weren't about his 14 children. His reported last words were a desperate plea. Get Emily.
Yeah, he called for the one woman he seemingly never touched.
The irony here is just staggering for you as the listener. I mean, the man who painted history's absolute most famous, iconic image of romantic love may never have actually experienced it himself.
At least not in the simple, mutual way we assume.
Right. And the woman in the painting, whether it is Amélie Floge or someone else, might just be enduring this overwhelming, imposing embrace on the edge of a literal cliff rather than choosing it.
It completely reframes how you look at the canvas, especially when you consider the title.
What about the title?
When Klimt first exhibited the painting to the public, he did not call it The Kiss.
Oh, wow. What did he call it?
He originally titled it Liebespaar, The Lovers.
The Lovers. Okay.
And The Lovers is a very different concept than The Kiss. The Kiss is a single, fleeting action. The Lovers describes a state of being. It's a complex, ongoing relationship.
That makes so much sense.
That original title allows for the tension we just discussed. It allows for unrequited feelings, for physical imbalance, for the danger of the cliff edge.
So, knowing all this dark ambiguity, the clenched hands, the dangerous precipice, his bizarre personal life, the original title, we really have to go back to our core mission for this deep dive.
The government purchase.
Yeah. Why did the Austrian government buy this? How do we interpret the fact that the establishment handed over 25,000 crowns for a painting of an uncomfortable embrace?
Well, historians usually look at that staggering purchase through one of two completely opposing lenses. The first perspective sees the entire event as the retreat.
The retreat, okay.
This interpretation argues that Klimt, after enduring the bruising 7-year public scandal of the university murals, finally just got tired of fighting.
He gave up.
He played it safe. He painted something undeniably beautiful, heavily decorative, and intensely private. He deliberately took the sharp political and philosophical edges off his work.
So under that reading, it's almost like a sellout piece. A strategic surrender into pure aesthetics. And the government eagerly bought it because the art no longer made intellectual demands of them. They didn't challenge their worldview. It was just pretty.
Exactly. They rewarded his surrender. But the second perspective argues the exact inverse. The second reading is the infiltration.
Ooh, tell me how this painting is an infiltration.
This reading argues that the kiss is actually the most subversive, dangerous thing Gustav Klimt ever created.
Really?
Think about the mechanics of the visual language we discussed. He hijacked the gold of Byzantine mosaics. He took the established visual idiom of imperial authority and religious dogma, the very foundational things the Austrian government held sacred, and he weaponized it.
Oh, I see.
He used their own holy language to sanctify raw, physical, erotic love.
He dressed his sexual rebellion up in their holy robes.
He created a Trojan horse. He made the painting so visually stunning, so blindingly radiant, that the government enthusiastically paid top dollar to hang a massive, glittering provocation right in the center of their national collection.
They didn't even know what they were buying.
They financed their own subversion without even realizing what they were looking at.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's literally the ultimate artistic heist. He gets their money, he gets his prestige back, and he sneaks his radical ideas right past their defenses.
It's a great theory.
But surely somebody asked him what he meant. Like, what did Klimt himself say about these interpretations?
He said absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Klimt flatly refused to give interviews about his work. He famously wrote a short, blunt piece where he stated that anyone who wanted to know anything about him or his intentions should just look carefully at his pictures.
Which, I mean, as an artist, is either the ultimate statement of integrity, letting the work speak entirely for itself, or it is just a genuinely brilliant way of dodging the question so nobody can ever pin you down.
By remaining silent, he forces the burden of interpretation entirely onto you, the viewer.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? When you look at those subtly clenched hands, the closed, ambiguous eyes, the dangerous cliff edge, do you see a defeated artist cashing in on a pretty picture? Or do you see a genius who tricked the establishment into buying a deeply uncomfortable masterpiece?
It's a profound tension that makes the painting endlessly fascinating to study. And it is a tension that is completely tragically erased by mass reproduction.
It really is.
Yep.
The Kiss has suffered the ultimate curse of being too popular. It's been slapped on everything imaginable. And every single time it gets shrunk down to fit on a piece of cheap merchandise, we lose the actual truth of the painting.
You lose the details that give the image its power. You lose the man's face, which is intentionally obscured from the viewer. You lose the defensive tension in the woman's hands.
The hands are everything.
And you lose the danger of the cliff edge entirely because it gets cropped out to focus on the gold.
Even the cultural shift in the title. Moving from the complexity of the lovers to the simple action of the kiss completely flattened this rich, deeply uncomfortable, psychologically complex relationship into a cheap, easily consumable Valentine's Day cliché.
Which is why, if you ever have the opportunity, you must seek out a high-resolution image and look specifically at her hands and feet. Or even better, travel to Vienna. Go to the Belvedere Museum where it currently lives.
See it in person. Experience the actual scale.
It hangs in a room by itself. You can stand just a meter away from the canvas. And when you are that close, the gold is real and heavy. The scale is imposing. The ambiguity is palpable. You are confronting the actual physical object, not the cultural shorthand it has unfortunately become.
It is a totally different experience to stand in front of the real thing. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today, but I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your week.
Okay, what is it?
Think about how we consume art and romance today. We live in an era where artificial intelligence can generate infinite, flawless, perfectly balanced images of romantic bliss in seconds.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything is smooth, frictionless, and ideal. But maybe the messy, uncomfortable, dangerous human reality of being. The kiss teetering on the edge of a cliff, painted by a man who had 14 children but died calling for a woman he may never have physically touched, is exactly what makes it a true masterpiece.
That's a great point.
What other perfect historical masterpieces are hiding a dangerous cliff edge right under our noses, just waiting for us to look a little closer? Keep that in mind the next time you see a flawless image masquerading as simple reality.